In a world with a deep-rooted history, some countries carry the traces of the past, while others are able to adapt to today's conditions without any problems. Some countries create an atmosphere that makes you feel like you are 100 years ahead of the world. People can feel like they are on a different planet when they see the way of life there, and that country is Japan. Japan is an island country in East Asia, and its name comes from the combination of the words sun and origin in the local language. The name is said to have been given by the Chinese. Japan is home to 125 million people. This population is quite common for Asian countries, as most Asian countries are densely populated. But is Japan really a different country, a world leader, or is it exaggerated? To answer these questions, let's take a closer look at life in Japan. First of all, this is Tokyo, the heart of Japan, and a highly developed city of 37 million inhabitants. It is also one of the most populous cities in the world. This city is so crowded that the Japanese government offers its citizens a one-time offer of $7,500 per child to leave this city. Also, the second largest stock exchange in the world is located in Tokyo, and therefore it is a city where not only Japan but the whole world invests. This is Tokyo, the commercial, cultural, and financial center of Japan, and home to the world's fastest train. How did a country that lost a world war and was the target of atomic bombs only 78 years ago manage to develop so fast? Before the Second World War, Japan had ambitions to expand into China and Korea, but these ambitions were not realized. Instead, it focused on internal development and developed in a different direction. The Japanese made the most of those 78 years by working hard and focusing on production. Toyota, Canon, Sony, and Honda, to name just a few. Not only in science and technology, but also by hosting the World Sports Olympics just 20 years after the war. They created metropolitan cities like Tokyo, which today have become one of the economic centers of the world. Although Japan is a very hard-working and developed state in human terms, it faces great difficulties in its geography. It is located in a geography where people live their lives based on earthquakes and related resource scarcity. It is located in a seismically very active region known as the Ring of Fire, where earthquakes of magnitude 8 and above are constantly reported, especially in Tokyo. In 2011, a magnitude 9 earthquake brought Japan to the brink of extinction. Today, in high-risk areas like Tokyo, every building is built with strong materials and made earthquake resistant. There are also some unique and interesting features found in Japan. For example, human-powered bicycles for transportation are part of this culture. Similar examples can be found in Bangladesh and India, but in Japan this tradition is kept alive to preserve the traces of the past. With these bicycles, one person takes you on short distance tours, you sit in the back seat, and the person in front drives you around with the help of the wheels. One of the other strange and unique features found in Japan has to do with hotels. You should think of a hotel as much more than a simple place to stay. In Japan, this sector has taken on a unique dimension. For example, there are hotels offering rest almost everywhere. Especially at train stations and airports, there are special rooms where you can sleep when you feel tired. You can rent these sleeping rooms for short or long periods of time and get some rest. Another interesting type of hotel is a concept that is completely run by robot software and has no human employees. Another hotel has a content full of adult books and anime stories. In these hotels, people can read these magazines quietly in their own rooms. The aim of most of these hotels is to attract tourists and allow them to experience the unique features of Japan. But hotel culture in Japan is also seen as a way to get away from home and have a different social experience. There are special hotels especially for gamers. These hotels can be thought of as internet cafes, but they offer the opportunity to relax after playing a game with other gamers in the room. One of the biggest proofs that Japan is synonymous with hotels is that according to the Guinness Book of World Records, the oldest hotel in the world is located in Japan. This hotel opened 1300 years ago and has been run by the same family for 52 generations. This hotel is part of an important heritage for the Japanese, and its opening date was determined from the bones of the first members of the family. This hotel has survived through empires and wars because it is located in an area surrounded by mountains, valleys, and forests. But it would be wrong to limit Japan to hotels. The country also has a society where manners and morals are taught in education and children are raised in an environmentally conscious way. They live in a society with education systems and values that are found nowhere else in the world. For example, These children clean their classrooms themselves. If they make a mess on their doorstep, they wipe it back and do not hire a cleaner to dispose of their own garbage. According to their philosophy of life, anyone who leaves waste in the environment is morally obliged to clean it up and remove it themselves. This is why every day in Japanese schools at the end of the day, students clean their classrooms. Therefore, you may see Japanese children who have received this education cleaning up, not only in their own country but also in other countries they visit, or you may see similar news on television. On the other hand, Japan is one of the countries with the most vending machines in the world. In this country, you can see a lot of vending machines on the streets and people selling street food. There are vending machines on almost every corner. You can also rent a family in Japan. Yes, you have not heard wrong. If you don't want to travel alone in Japan and even want to be a guest in a family's house, you can rent a family online. Some families are young, some are old, some have children and some don't. You can choose a family according to your desired age and criteria and spend time with them. These services help you understand not only the architecture and food culture of Japan, but also the way of life. The country is also home to people who dress up as game characters and offer friendship through bilateral dialogues. These people can advertise themselves and are legally recognized. You can eat with them, buy their personal belongings and spend time in their cafes. You have to pay different fees for each service. These people usually smile on the outside, but this is actually part of their job. Since the Japanese are an introverted nation, they find it difficult to establish bilateral relationships outside. For this reason, they gravitate towards such relationships where emotional ties are superficial. For a European or an African who wants to live in Japan, it is very difficult to make natural friendships with cultures they do not know from the outside. Therefore, a person who wants to move to Japan needs to learn a certain amount of Japanese. Also, contrary to their own claims, the Japanese do not speak English very well. Only 8% of the country is fluent in English. Half of the population, some 60 million people, speak no English at all. The fact that Japan is very active in the world business sector makes it much easier to find a job there than in other countries. Especially if you learn Japanese, doors open for you one by one, especially in Tokyo. The bad thing is that houses in Tokyo are as small and expensive as possible. Because the population is so high, the buildings are as tall as possible, skyscraper style. Even though the buildings are earthquake resistant, people who want to build a permanent life in Japan have to get used to constant earthquakes and tsunamis, unlike in other countries. Perhaps one of the most distinctive features of Japan is that people take their own lives. Especially in the forests at the foot of Mount Fuji, there have been many people who have quietly committed suicide. It is thought that people choose this path because of their busy work life, faith, and loneliness. Japan is a must-visit country in every way, but it may not be attractive enough for someone who was born and raised in a different country and has a permanent life there. Friends, we have come to the end of our video. If you want to learn about countries, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. Goodbye.